through the character of Raina. And Raina is the major character of this play. She is the heroine of this play, and George Bernard Shaw has drawn very powerful, independent women characters all throughout his career. And in a letter to Mrs. Patrick Kemp-White, Bernard Shaw once remarked, "I am the first class ladies' tailor," because he has created tailor-made women characters, and in this play he wants to talk about the sublime romantic air that is attached to the idea of war and to marriage, and he goes on to prove how there is a dark underbelly behind these seemingly romantic ideas about war and marriage. At the same time, he wants to uncover the politics behind war and marriage, and his stance has always been anti-imperialistic stand. We may be led to believe that George Bernard Shaw is against war, as he has shown in this play Arms and the Men, but he was a kind of flexible person, and when the question arose whether Ireland should join the First World War or not, George Bernard Shaw was of the opinion that Ireland should side with France, even though it meant that by default they would be aiding Great Britain. So here George Bernard Shaw talks about the war between Bulgaria and Serbia. Now he has deliberately chosen these two remote countries. He could have chosen any two well-known major countries, but he wants to create an air of mystery. He wants to create an air of remoteness, so that the idea that he wants to convey can be highlighted in a proper manner. The year is 1885, and the play opens with Catherine and Raina. Raina is standing on the balcony of her bedroom, and she is looking out at the Balkan mountain range when Catherine comes and informs her that Bulgaria has won the war against Serbia, and her fiance, Raina's fiance, Sergius, has successfully led the cavalry charge against the Serbians. At the same time, their maid servant Luka enters and requests Raina to close all the windows, because there was a possibility of heavy firing on the streets of Bulgaria, because the Serbian soldiers were making a retreat, and some of them had entered Bulgaria, and in order to chase them, certain Russian soldiers who were aiding Bulgarian army were also in the town, and Raina was of the opinion that only the shutters of the windows should be closed so that she can enjoy the scenery outside. Luka leaves, and Raina prepares to go to bed with her novel in her hands, and at the same time she hears a gunshot outside, and somebody entering her bedroom. She hears the sound of footsteps. She blows the candle and lies down, and she could hear the voice of a man coming from the balcony, and that man warns her not to make any noise, otherwise her head would be shot off. And here Raina is not afraid of this man. She again lights up the candle to have a clear look at the man. The man is smeared in mud and blood, and his clothes are all torn apart. He carries a revolver with him, and he tells Raina that he was from the Serbian army, and some Bulgarian soldiers were after him, and if Raina makes the identity of this man known, then he was bound to die. And Raina does not utter a single word, and then suddenly there is a knock on the door, and Luca calls out to Raina, saying that some Bulgarian soldiers wanted to search her room because they had seen this man climbing the water pipe and coming to the Raina's bedroom. Now Raina at that time had worn a night dress, and she extends her arm to take the gown that was lying nearby, fur gown, and this man takes the gown from Raina's hands, and he says that this is the greatest weapon that I had, because he knew that given the present state of undress, Raina would not allow any Bulgarian soldiers to enter her bedroom and search her room. Now here George Bernard Shaw punctures certain ideas about the bravery of a soldier. He says that for me, revolver is not the greatest of a weapon, but at this time this piece of cloth will help me in hiding from the soldiers. So Raina hides him behind the curtains, and the Bulgarian soldiers search her room but find nothing and then go away. After which this man comes out from the curtains, and he narrates the whole story about the war. He tells Raina about the cavalry charge. Now Sergius was the in charge of cavalry charge, through which Bulgaria had an upper hand to this Serbian army. And he says there is nothing great about a war. There is nothing great about leading a cavalry charge, because the man who was leading the cavalry charge was a fool, and Raina was very much incensed because bluntly that man was referring to her fiance, and she threatens to throw him out of the balcony, and then he collapses on the sofa, and Raina takes pity on him and gives him his revolver, to which this man says that I don't need any revolver because there are no cartridges in the revolver, and I don't go around carrying cartridges in my pocket. I always carry chocolate bars with me. And Raina was very much surprised to know that this man was carrying chocolate bars instead of cartridges, and she popularly she nicknamed him as my chocolate cream soldier. And that is how the first act ends. In the second act, there is a dialogue between the two servants, the man servant Nicola and the maid servant Luca. Both of them are engaged to each other, and Luca does not like to be to serve Petkov family, Raina's family, and she wants to marry a rich man and get out of this life, while Nicola believes that by serving this family well, they can establish a shop in Sofia, and that would hold them in good stead. Major Petkov returns from the war, and his wife Catherine greets him. Major Petkov informs her that Bulgaria has won the war and a treaty has already been signed, and Catherine says that there was no need to sign the treaty and the war should have been prolonged so that Serbia would have been annexed to Bulgaria, and the Prince Alexander of Bulgaria would have become the emperor of the unified Bulgaria, which included Serbia, Austria. So she had a very romantic idea about war, and at the same time Sergius also arrives at Raina's home. he is very much disillusioned because he has not been promoted to the higher rank. He led the cavalry charge, and in spite of that, there were certain Russian officers who were given promotion, but he was not considered for the post of major, and therefore he was very much irked by all these things, and he resigned from the army. And he says that there is nothing being a soldier, there is nothing great being a soldier. Then Raina and Sergius indulge in high love. Now, again, this is a romantic romantic connotation of love propounded by Raina. She calls out Sergius as her heart's hero and her soul's hero and her god. At the same time, Sergius was flirting with Luca while Raina had gone out to take her jacket and hat, and Bluntschli also arrives to return the coat of Major Petkov that was given to him by Catherine and Raina with the photograph. Act 3 begins, and Raina and Bluntschli start talking about the theory that was the talk that was spread around the Bulgarian army, that Bluntschli had actually found shelter in a Bulgarian major's home, and she said that if Major Petkov or Sergius came to know that they had given shelter to Bluntschli, then her engagement to Sergius would be broken off. And at the another level, you find the episode between Sergius and Luca. Luca is married to Sergius. Then there is proposal for duel between Sergius and Bluntschli. Sergius invites Bluntschli for a duel because he thought that Bluntschli had stayed in the bedroom of his lover Raina, and there might be some sort of romantic affair between both of them, and therefore he invites Bluntschli for a duel. And later everything turns out to be well. Major Petkov agrees to marry off Raina to Bluntschli when he comes to know that Bluntschli was not an ordinary professional mercenary soldier, but actually he had 6 hotels in Switzerland. He had some 10,000 forks and knives and tablecloths and all these paraphernalia, and that is how ultimately Raina and Bluntschli are united.
Thank you, Vaibhav bhai. This was amazing, and everything is well that ends well. Friends, we hope that you have enjoyed the outline that we have given to you about Ams and the Man, the background that we have provided to you about George Bernard Shaw. Hope you have enjoyed, and please enjoy the play in the classroom in future, and good luck for your end semester exams. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.